In the first hand that I'm going to go over, I get dealt 9-8 suited in the hijack and open raise to 15. The button calls, then the big blind makes a small squeeze of $40. I'm getting a good price of 3-1 on a call, but the raiser started with a short stack, and if I do call, the raiser would have exactly a 1 pot size bet left, and since I put villain on a very strong range of hands, 3-betting this small at this limit, I would only feel comfortable getting all the chips in on the flop if I hit 2 pair or better, or some type of combo draw on the flop. A little frustrating getting 3-1 on a call, and to be able to play in position, but I feel it was the correct play to let it go. Suited connectors play much better in deep SPR pots where the villain has many chips behind to be won, and this isn't one of those situations, so it's best to fold. In this next hand, I'm dealt King-Queen offsuit in early position with the straddle. I open for a raise to $25. These type of offsuit Broadway hands play better in shallower SPR pots, and with the straddle on, the stack sizes are effectively halved, so it's the opposite situation of the 8-9 suited hand from earlier. I get 3 callers, and with 100 already in the pot, and me having 275 behind, the hand basically plays itself out if I hit top pair, and will commit myself to the pot on the flop. Top pair does come in the king, and it is very likely I have the best hand on this board texture. The big blind and the straddle check, and the action is on me. The player behind me, who I call Bro because he is wearing sunglasses and has the demeanor of a frat bro, just went all in with 7-3 suited to steal a small pot pre-flop, so it seems like he's just waiting to lose the rest of his small chip stack, so I decide to check to him, wanting him to do the betting for me. I want him to do this because the other 2 players will call more loosely, thinking I missed the flop and would check with hands I missed, and the bro would also be betting somewhat light. Then I can go all in once the action's back on me. This, to me, makes checking and possibly giving a free card the better option. The player behind me does indeed comply and put the rest of his chips in the middle, but the other 2 players end up folding. I make the easy call and am in great shape against King 8. An 8 doesn't come, and I scoop a pretty good sized pot. Next, I'm dealt pocket 6s in the small blind with 4 limpers ahead of me, and I decide to complete. This is the exact situation you want when you have a small pocket pair, a cheap investment pre-flop in a multi-way pot, hoping to hit a set and win a big pot against a top pair type hand. 6 ways to a flop, and it comes out perfectly with King 10-6, 2 diamonds. The king makes it really likely somebody hit top pair, so I decide to check, planning on check raising. An older player who doesn't like folding at all bets out 18 for about a pot-sized bet, and 2 players behind him end up calling. This situation is even better than I could have asked for, and I make a raise to 100. The original bettor calls, and the other 2 players fold. The player on the button holds her cards up to show the player next to her. I don't understand why players do that, since you could always wait 1 minute till the hand's over, and you could possibly accidentally show your hand.
I fold, but I would like, if you're folding, I want to show you my hand.
20,000.
Whoa, dumbass.
Sorry.
Dumbass.
This is exactly what she does in showing ace deuce of diamonds. A very influential hand to see, since it is far less likely I am semi-bluffing with the ace high flush draw. Turn comes a 5, and it shouldn't change much. I have a pot-sized bet left, and was thinking at the table that I don't want a scare card to come on the river, so I decided to put him all in. I already thought it was likely he had just a top pair hand, and the flasher made it even more likely, but then now he also started talking to himself, asking me rhetorical questions like what my kicker was, before he ended up deciding on a fold. I think betting the turn there would be the standard play if no cards were shown, but now next time when I get shown additional information in the showing of a hand, I will know now to add that into my betting strategy. In this last hand, I pick up pocket 10s in middle position, and what I deem a loose player makes a small open of $8. Both of us are pretty deep stacked, and I don't think a premium hand would raise this small. So I decided to put out a 3-bet in order to hopefully play a big heads-up pot in position against this loose passive villain. Things don't go as planned, however, and the small blind, who has been playing pretty tight, puts in a 4th bet to $90. The original raiser gets out of the way, and the action is back on me. I'm putting villain on basically only premium hands here of jacks plus ace-king, and he might not even raise jacks or ace-king. I'm getting a little better than 12-1 on a set mine, since the effective stack is me with over 200 big blinds, so I decide on a call. In an earlier video, I mentioned one should look to get at least 20-1 on a set mine, but in this situation, I am very confident that villain has a extremely premium hand and will have a hand good enough to pay me off if I do hit a set. Against just an open raise, it is much likelier that the villain won't pay you off because he wouldn't have nearly as strong of a range as in this case when he puts in a 4th bet out of position. I plan on folding to any bet on the flop that doesn't have a 10, so let's see if a magical 10 appears.
There was a ghost!
I only asked for one of the 10s, but I guess hitting both's alright also. And 2 things at the time were popping into my mind. First one was, oh my god, I have quads. And then the second was wanting to get the bad beat jackpot. If you don't know what the bad beat jackpot is, it is when you lose a really good hand where you're playing both your whole cards to another player that plays both of their whole cards as well. At this specific casino, losing aces full of 10s versus quads or better is the bad beat jackpot. So if villain has pocket aces and hits an ace on the turn or river, I would win an extra $4,000 with quads, and the player with aces full of 10s would win $8,000 extra dollars. So I really want that to be a possibility. Villain then bets 100, which is a 1/2 pot size bet, and I'm not trying to scare him off at all, so I just call. Turns a bad card in the 6 of clubs that brings a possible flush that might scare my opponent. He then looks back at his whole cards, which to me was a sign he doesn't have pocket jacks for a full house, or specifically ace-king of clubs for a flush, because he wouldn't need to look back for those hands. So he most likely has an overpair, not sure if he has a club or not, and possibly ace-king offsuit with or without a club, but I don't think that specific hand is as likely. He checks, and I make a very questionable check back. I think I just got blinded by my quads a little bit, and also put too much emphasis on the bad beat jackpot, and not wanting my opponent to fold possibly 2 red aces, and I would maybe lose the chance at the jackpot. But the thing is, players at this level would not fold that hand, even though I would be representing a flush or a full house if I did bet on the turn. I had about $450 left in a pot of less than 400, so I should have at least bet very small of 150 just to make sure he would call, and also I would get all the chips in by the river. A river does come in the king, so no possible bad beat jackpot, and villain checks to me. I feel pocket aces or ace king would call my bet on the river, just maybe not an all-in. So I decided to bet 200, and he quickly calls, showing 2 black aces, and the quick call definitely means I made a mistake and should have bet even bigger on the river, but especially bet somewhat on the turn. And he also had a nut flush draw on the turn, so he would have for sure called. So my check back lost me a lot of value there. I had about a 9% chance to win $4,000 extra dollars, but my overthinking of the hand, trying to make sure a river came, and I had at least a chance of hitting the jackpot, cost me $250. Still a huge pot going my way though, helping me score a big win with a $858 profit.